Hey, come on, somebody. Big Rich Brock here. Hope you're having a great week. So glad you tuned in today to the podcast. Early happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. It's been a great month. Been touring, traveling, get to go to some places. Just got back from Dothan, Alabama. Had a great show there. Dothan Opera House. Highly recommend if you're in town, go check out the shows they have. They bring in comedy, music, all kinds of fun stuff. And man, we just had an amazing show, a lot of fun, met a lot of great people, and hopefully look forward to going back. So was just there, was over at Three Strands Family Winery in Dallas, Georgia. I'm headed to Big Door Vineyards this week. If you're watching this week, I'll be at, Caffeine Addicts in Ringo, Georgia on Friday night, the 19th. And then on Saturday, the 20th, I will be in Tony, Alabama at the Savvy Cafe, along with Luke Bentley, young comedian out of Atlanta, Georgia. We've got two great shows playing, clean comedy, good people. Bring your dad out for Father's Day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Always a good time when we get together. So those are coming up this week. And I just want to spend a few minutes, I guess today, with it being Father's Day, talk a little bit about that, see where we go and have some fun together. Again, thanks for sharing this. Thanks for viewing the reels and all the stuff that we have to do in social media world to keep the vision out there and to keep striving to bring comedy and to bring hope one laugh at a time. So, I was thinking about with Father's Day, of course, my dad and, my dad passed in 2019. I get tickled because I've never really called my dad my father, except in my shows. He's always been dad. I guess a lot of people have fathers, but not everybody has a dad, if you know what I mean. My dad, he's the man. I get tickled when I think about it and growing up, and I'll just break down some aspects of what a good father is and what I strive for and what I was fortunate enough to be around. Man, my dad had a great work ethic. My father had one of those childhoods where he was the youngest of three boys. He was 13 years younger than his middle brother, or 12 and 13 from his oldest. So he was a surprise. He showed up into the world and he joked around that it was like he had three dads instead of any brothers because they were so much older. But he was told by his father, he said, listen, we'll put a roof on your head, we'll feed you, we'll get you a pair of jeans, a couple of shirts, but that's it. You're on your own, so to speak. If you want more than those things, if you want a car, if you want nicer clothes, to have spending money, you're going to have to figure it out. So he started figuring that out in seventh grade. Man, seventh grade, he took a job, and this would have been in the 1950s. He took a job at the Chickamauga drugstore in Chickamauga, Georgia, my hometown, where I grew up. And my dad began working after school. So my dad loved baseball. He liked tennis, and he played a little bit of both when he was in school. But his priority had to be work. And man, I look today with kids and how we specialize in one sport and all that stuff, or music, whatever it is. So he really focused in on work, and he worked every day after school. I remember him telling me he would leave school and have to sprint to the drugstore and be there, and he'd work till about 6:30, Monday through Friday. And then Saturday, he would work from 8 till 4. And, or 5 and have a full day and then off on Sunday. So I'm like, well, no wonder he saved money. He didn't have time to spend it. Come on, somebody. I mean, you working all the time, but he developed the work ethic, and he learned that from James Price and the Price Pharmacy people there at the drugstore. And they instilled that in him. And he carried that into his whole life, his career with the post office. If you've been to one of my shows, my dad was a letter carrier. My father worked in his hometown his whole life, 35 plus years. He worked 6 months when he started in Chattanooga. And in fact, the date that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot My father was working in Chattanooga delivering the mail, and he said in his 35 years of delivering mail, that's the only time the mail stopped. They literally pulled him off the route and they said, today the mail stops. That was it. Rain, sleet, snow, ice, cold, heat, the mail's there. And my father had a walking mail route for 15 years. He walked 12.3 miles a day, 5 days a week, sometimes six. The joke I always say is, how do I remember that? I heard it every day in my childhood. And I really didn't, but I did hear it a lot. And other people would tell me too. And I guess the thing I wanted to get across and what it instilled in me, I was a pastor all of my boys' lives or childhood. My youngest son, I went from being a pastor to having my own home inspection business when he was in middle school. So that was different. My schedule was different. But for my two oldest boys and my youngest, up until he hit probably seventh grade, I was a pastor of a church in our community. That was a big part of our lives. But I also could work my schedule around what they were invested in. My dad would walk 12.3 miles and then get home and go out in the yard and teach me how to play baseball. I'd be waiting on him to play catch. I'd be waiting on him to pitch to me so I could hit. I'd be waiting on him to throw football or shoot basketball. And he was always there. And man, I didn't realize how tired he was. And we're kids, we don't. But as an adult, man, I didn't walk no 12.3, but just the daily stress of life and helping people and doing all the things we have to do to go home, and he would flip the switch. Now, something I learned from him now as an adult, we had a German Shepherd, and that dog was a part of our family. And my dad trained this dog. And I figured out that what he was doing when he would get home from work, he would spend 20 to 30 minutes with that dog. And that was how he got rid of his stress. And he flipped the switch. He would train the dog. The dog knew how to, hey, you can ask my friend Mickey Wilson. That dog knew how to attack. We had a code word. And if we said that word, the dog would go after you. And he didn't believe me, so I said the code word, and I got major trouble. Man, I got tore up after Mickey left because I wasn't supposed to do that except in emergencies. And my dad trained the dog to do all the stances and fetch. We could throw frisbee, and the dog catches the frisbee. You could throw a ball. It was just a well-trained animal. And my dad would use that time to kind of decompress. And he'd finish that, do a couple chores, and then he's teaching me baseball. He's teaching me, hey, listen, you're looking at the MVP of the T-ball in Chickamauga in 1975. And I can't take the credit because it was my dad teaching me how to do all this stuff. Because when you got young athletes, yeah, there's ability, but it's the repetition and it's the fact that someone is investing in you on how to do it and do it right. He taught me to bat left-handed, even though I'm right-handed. He said, because that's a better combination. Being a left-handed hitter is the way to go. I play golf left-handed today because I learned how to hit a baseball left-handed. I remember my dad played like church league softball and industrial softball. That was a big thing in the 1900s, and he would go do that. And then one day when I hit the age to play Little League, my dad quit those sports and those activities. And people's like, man, Lynn, why'd you quit? He goes, I don't have enough time. I need to put my time into my son. And he coached. And if you're from Chickamauga, Georgia, and listen to this, in my age group, there's a good chance that a Brock or a Burns coached you in Little League in the 1970s and early 80s, because my dad and my uncle, and then Terry Burns, Donnie Burns, and Dicey Burns. Yes, Dicey. Those three brothers grew up around my dad, and they were all friends, and they all had kids in the same age bracket. So they would take turns coaching our Little League. 3 of them would coach it 1 year, 1 would get a year off, 3 the next year, 1 a year off, and we're there, but they didn't have that responsibility. So, I'm talking about this stuff for a little bit. Hopefully, it's bringing good memories for you about, things that you experienced with your dad. I wanna encourage, I do a joke where I talk about, uh putting on my dad's cologne. My dad wore English leather. That was what you got back then in the 70s. Maybe Old Spice, maybe Aqua Velva or Brute. And if your dad's my age, it was probably Polo. And I always say, if you ain't seen your daddy, it's probably Axe Spray. You got to watch them boys. Them Axe Spray guys, you got to keep an eye on. And we joke about it, but I want to encourage you that the thing that's great about being a dad, you don't have to be biological to be a dad to somebody. You can be that person. I've had role models and I've had people in my life that were great influencers. Couple pastors that I had, both in my 20s, were great influencers in my life. I started out with one, and then the other I was with for 20 years. And those men helped shape me, they helped mold me, and I spent a lot of time with them. But they weren't my dad. They weren't my father. As a father, I look and I think, wonder what my dad felt, me spending so much time and learning so much from those guys, if he ever got jealous about it. And I know as a father, I want to be that guy for my kids, my boys. But I understand that, it takes a village. Come on, somebody. It takes more than one person. You can learn from different people, but you only got one father. And my dad, one of those mentors, told me a story that I went to a church. I started out in a Southern Baptist church, a First Baptist church, and got born again, worked there, served there. And then I got into a spirit filled or non denominational church. It was half black, half white, 3 times the size of where I came from. And it was just different than what I grew up in. And I think my mom and my dad struggled with that for a season. But then they saw the love that people had for me. They saw the growth that I had in my life. And this mentor told me that, and he had met my dad a few times at special events, the baptism of the kids or, something when I was ordained, that kind of stuff. And my dad pulled him aside and he said, I want to thank you for investing in my son. He's a better man because of what you've invested in him. And man, that's awesome when you can hear somebody say, tell you and my dad, man, he was a rock. My dad was a very strong, moral, faith-based dude. But the biggest thing I learned from him, and I think that my boys have had instilled in him, was, he didn't say a lot, but he loved his wife. He honored my mother till the day she died. And I look and I want you to see, and I hope I can do this for my own sons. My best memories, and I get it now that I'm older, my best memories are times with my kids when they were little. But then if you're watching this and you're over 40, or 50 at least, you've got to learn how to parent adult kids. Your kids are grown now. It's a different relationship. I'm still learning it. I've got one son that lives on the other side of the state, one that's an hour one way, one an hour the other way. We're a divorced home, so they get pulled to go different places all the time. I didn't have that struggle. My parents were together. I had them and I had another set of in-laws. And that's where I divided my time when I was raising my kids. It's a different world today. Man, you try to plan Christmas with some families, it might be on January 5th. It might be November 3rd because they got 20 places they got to go. And I didn't have that problem. I had 2 to attend. But what I want you to see in this, talking about dads and Father's Day, number one, take time to honor your dad. Living, make the phone call, go see him. Oh, man, me and my dad don't get along. Hey, suck it up. Make the phone call. Do that. Well, my dad wasn't there for me. He's still your father, I guess it'd be your father. And there might be, stepdad or a role model or somebody in your life. And when I say that, take time to rejoice in that. My dad's been passed since, gosh, 2019. And when Father's Day comes around, I don't get sad. I rehearse my victory. I take time and think about the good memories. I don't think about the tough ones. I don't think about the rough days. I choose to think on good stuff. And people say, oh, you're in denial. No, denial's a river. I'm in a place where I'm like, I know what's real. I know what I've went through. I know what I'm overcoming today as a father, as a man, as a business owner, a comedian. I mean, saying you're a comedian today is saying you breathe air. Everybody's into it, or a singer, or, we got social media. Anybody can put something out there. And I encourage you to do it. But I just want to take time every day and give thanks. So I encourage you to do that, to give thanks in all things. Rejoice the fact that, man, your dad, think about some of the good things. Like I said, man, growing up, my dad was very invested in what I was doing, very invested. I mean, was at all the games, but also when things didn't go well, he was there, gave words of encouragement. And he was he was learning on the fly because I realized his dad was there for him, but it was in a different way. Man, his dad was an old man wasn't an old man, but 13 years in between him and his brothers. That's a whole different type of relationship. My dad was 21 years old when I was born. So I remember I'm doing this gig this week down in Destin, or next week in Destin, where they've hired me to come and roast golfers while they're playing in a golf tournament. And I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. And you say, "Oh, Big Rich, why?" Well, when I was a kid, I'd go play golf all the time with my dad, my uncle, and those two, either Fuzz McGill, yeah, Fuzz, or the Burnses, or my dad's buddies. And I didn't get to play. I just got to ride in the cart, squished in there between the bags, because I wanted to go. And I'm an only child, and my daddy would let me, and my mama probably needed a break. So I'd beg to go, and he'd let me go, and he'd say, "Now listen, when we get away from everybody and it's not slowing down the game, we'll let you play a hole." And I'd look forward to it. I didn't know which one of the 18 is going to be, but I knew it'd be one, and I'd get to play, and I thought it was awesome. But what I remember about those days was constantly being told, "Be quiet. Quit talking. Hush. Don't get us laughing." So I'm ready for this golf roast because I've been storing up stuff for 58 years that I can unload on these guys and have a good time down there in Destin. And speaking of Florida, I'm going to be there in Panama City at Dick's Last Resort. The place where you wear the hats. They put all that crap on there. I'm going to be there doing a show with Panama City Comedy. So go to Panama City Comedy and you can get tickets, come out and be a part of that night. And then the following day on Saturday, I think it's the 27th, the last Saturday of June, I'm going to be in Destin at the Arbor Walk. And if you're familiar with Harbor Walk down there, Margaritaville's down there, a bunch of other stuff, doing a free show there, outdoors at the amphitheater. Come out, be a part. It's going to be a good time. And we got a couple other things. Go to Panama City Comedy, and you can see where those shows are. But listen, I hope you have a great Father's Day. Enjoy it. As a former pastor, I know holidays are tough for a lot of people. I just want to encourage you, man, have some hope. Be encouraged. Find something good to do, something good to think about. Don't let your thoughts get you down. Build yourself up. Hey, nobody else is going to sometimes, so you got to build yourself up. I hope you have a great one. We'll keep on this subject over next week, talking about our dads and being a father and all that stuff. I'm Big Rich Brock. Come see me at a show. Have a great day, and God bless.